Everybody has a comeback story. What is yours? Your biggest comeback of your life could be one decision away. Let that sink in. If you're watching this, you're probably in the middle of something. You got laid off from a job, you just got out of a breakup, you're going through grief, you're going through something that feels so heavy, or maybe you're just simply tired of feeling stuck. Well, let me tell you something. You are on the verge of the biggest comeback of your life. Anytime that you go through something so intense, it means that you are on the verge to accessing a new version of yourself. I'm going to show you how to take that pain and turn it into the biggest comeback of your life. The first step to this process is we have to look at the fall, your villain origin story. Every comeback starts with a failure, with a loss, with something that didn't go as planned. So let's talk about yours. What has happened? We need to just assess the situation for what it is without sugarcoating it. What have you gone through? What are you feeling? What is the biggest pain point that you're experiencing right now? It usually looks like something as getting laid off from a job, or you didn't get the part that you applied for. Maybe a deal that you had fell through. Maybe a show that you had got canceled. Basically, life hit you with a plot twist that you did not need. So for example, in the recent times, I had what felt like the lowest point of my life happen, which was my rock bottom. I've only had that feeling once before, but this rock bottom was entirely different. I not only got laid off from my job, my full source of income, my dog of 14 years suddenly passed away. I also had started a business that I had to make a very tough decision to stop pursuing because of unexpected things that came up that were a blessing in disguise, but at the time I did not know that. And I was also shifting my identity because I was about to walk away from something that I had dedicated a large portion of my life and time to. Everything that I ever knew was stripped away in 1 year. I was grieving so many different situations all at once, and I had no idea where I was gonna go from here. And to make matters worse, even the job when I got laid off, I was supposed to get a severance package, which was supposed to be some financial cushion while I figured this whole situation out. But the company ended up going bankrupt and they could no longer pay the severance package that I was supposed to be getting. At that moment, all I could think about was why me, and this sucks. But little did I know that major L, that major loss, was about to lead me to a life that I never saw coming in the best way possible. So what happens after this loss? It doesn't happen automatically, but if you're open to it, you will create a major life shift. After loss comes a shift, if you allow it and if you choose it. Instead of seeing failures as the end, see it as the beginning to a new era. See it as the beginning to your next comeback. Expect your path to look super windy, tons of ups and downs, unforeseen circumstances. It is never going to be a straight line. Basically, you want to expect that you're going to be faced with a loop of failures, but all of those setbacks, if you choose to, can fuel you to the next phase. So I want you to shift your perspective first and foremost. I want you to understand why a failure and rock bottom is the foundation to launch you forward. Think of your rock bottom as a launch pad. I can guarantee you, you look at anyone's success story, majority of the time, it all started from a major loss, a major failure. There's so many examples out there because when you hit rock bottom, you are usually left with no other choice. Your back is against the wall and you have to break through. And you're also in a position where everything seems like it's so bad anyways. What do you have to lose? So when you move forward, you actually move forward in a very fearless way because you've already lost everything that you've known at rock bottom. How much worse can it actually get? In being in that rock bottom position, you have that huge advantage of you have nothing left to lose, so you might as well just go for it. And that's where the breakthrough happens. Because a psychology trick that is known is when you feel like you have nothing left to lose, you take even bigger risks. And with big risks come bigger shifts. I want you to take a moment, comment below what your villain origin story is. Let us know what your setback is and how it's going to fuel your comeback. The next thing we need to address is the mindset shift, aka you need to flip the script. Here's what actually separates people from making a comeback from those who don't. There's a reason why some people stay stuck. You have to believe that your story is not over yet and that it's just getting started. At the end of the day, no one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. You are the main character in your story, and the main character is the only one who can get themselves from point A to point B. There was a time, as an example, during this whole transition rock bottom point for me, when I had to transition away from my business, a large corporation was challenging my trademark to take away my small business if I didn't change my name. And I remember thinking, I can't, one, emotionally be invested in this because I am just too heartbroken right now with the loss of my dog. Two, this was right after the pandemic, so I had already gone through so much emotionally that it was just so heavy. And then three, it was going to be a huge financial investment for me to hire lawyers and attorneys. Even though I knew I could have won if I actually went to court with this, I chose not to because the amount that I would have had to invest in a lawyer and then going up against a huge corporation, it just made it really difficult to see the positives in that situation at the time. And also I had this gut feeling that, you know what, maybe this just isn't the right path for me right now. The more that I mapped out every scenario, the more I felt like this just wasn't the right decision to try to restructure and reinvent my whole business only after a year of making it. And it was so hard for me to make that decision because the products were selling out, people were enjoying the products. I could have wasted so much time and just held myself back. So I made that tough decision and I moved on. I pivoted. And a lot of the times people get stuck because they don't know how to pivot. They don't know how to change when something isn't working or when something isn't aligned. You have to have a strong sense of intuition of whether or not something is worth seeing through. And that's something only you can know for yourself. I could have also thrown in the towel after that because I still, at the end of the day, invested a lot of money in my trademark, in my logo, in operations, and now I have to close it. If I was going to be so easily defeated by the fact that I basically had to take that L for the moment, I wouldn't have gone to where I am now. I started an entire new business and I figured it out one day at a time. But sometimes you just need to make that shift, and it's all going to come down to how strong you are mentally to understand when that shift needs to happen. I knew that because I was capable of starting a business from scratch with no prior business experience, and I had then built more confidence in myself, knowing that even if I didn't pursue this specific business, I know that I can do another business again in the future. This is not the end for me. So you have to have that confidence in yourself and know that just because one door closes doesn't mean it's the end all be all. It just means that you have to find another door to open. So the thing I want you to do here is find one reason why your next chapter can be better than the last. Even if it's something as simple as, I just refuse to go out like this. I refuse to let this be the end of my story. Most of the time, people get stuck because they relive their failure over and over and they beat themselves up over it and they feel like they're a complete failure and loser because they've failed. Stop replaying the failure and learn to move on. Another reason why people hold themselves back is because they wait for external validation to keep going. But the thing is, you have to act before you feel ready. I did not feel anywhere ready after I had to close one product business and go into content creation and start a whole new business around that. But I just took it one day at a time. I definitely didn't feel ready. I still don't feel ready whenever I try new things. You just have to know that you're never gonna feel ready to start something new. So just take it one step at a time, even if it's one small action every day. The thing I want you to remember here is when you're feeling like you're replaying your failures, ask yourself, what would the best version of myself do? What would the higher version of myself do? And then you do that. The next phase to this is your silent work era, also known as the training phase. This is the era where you just go completely ghost mode and you level up. This is not the glamorous part. This is the part that nobody sees. It's a bunch of failure, trying again, feeling like you're doing it for nothing, and then just keep going and messing up anyway. And while this part may not be the most glamorous, it is the most important. When I got laid off, no one saw what I had to go through, not only mentally, but just having to build from the ground up after taking L after L. Nobody saw the amount of hours I spent on trying to figure out a new system to live off of my passion. I had to go from making a steady paycheck to suddenly making my own rent. Nobody saw me pitching to brands, emailing brands, coming up with content ideas, scripting all of my content, learning how to negotiate, losing deals. I went through all these different phases when I got laid off from my job that pretty much no one knew about because I just had to go ghost mode and figure it out. Doing all of that is when my comeback actually started. I refused to give up. Think of this as the going to the gym at 5 a.m. phase. It's not fun. Nobody wants to do that. If you can conquer your own mind and get past your own limiting beliefs, what else can get in your way? This is especially difficult because this is the time where nobody's clapping for you. So what I want you to do here is write down 3 things that you can start doing this week that will help get you started on your comeback journey. Because remember, small daily moves add up. Some common mistakes that will hold you back in this phase is waiting for motivation. You can't wait for motivation. It doesn't happen until you start taking action. Do not think that you need to feel ready. Nobody feels ready. Nobody knows what they're doing. But if you just take it one day at a time and do one small action to get better at it, you will slowly build the confidence to keep going. And also, do not fall into the trap of looking for validation here. Don't look for someone to clap for you. Don't look for someone to cheer you on. It's not going to happen. And even if it does, that's not going to be sustainable. You need to do it whether people are clapping for you or not. Okay, the next phase of this is your first win. This is the proof that you're back. Your comeback doesn't start when you do something big, when you do something major. It comes from your very first win. And that could be something small, your first viral video, your first upload on your YouTube channel, your first post, your very first sale in your new business, your first time saying no to an opportunity, your first time saying yes to an opportunity. My first win when getting laid off was still turning down a 4-figure deal because it didn't align with me, and I wasn't about to just start being desperate because I had never done that before. When I was doing content as a side thing when I had my full-time job, I had the confidence to turn down deals left and right because I was like, I'm not about to promote anything and everything to my audience. Like, I value the integrity and I want it to be something that I'm actually excited about or believe in. I remember when I turned down my first deal, knowing that now content was my full-time source of income, to be able to turn down a deal with a comma in it, I knew that at the end of the day, I value my integrity, and I knew that I didn't need to just take anything and everything to be successful at making an income. I still managed to hit 6 figures my first full-time year as a creator. And I do believe that having that integrity really played a part in it, because if I would have just lowered my value to say yes to everything, that would have just watered down my whole brand, that would have watered down my integrity. So during this phase, find out what action matters to you in this time. Learn to celebrate your small wins. It's basically the only way that you can give yourself proof that you're sticking to what you're doing, you're proud of what you're doing, and just find little wins to celebrate along the way, because that is what's going to keep you going. Another win that I had was pitching to a brand, cold pitching, and then having it turn into a paid collaboration. I remember how exciting that was for me when I would take some videos and pitch it to a brand, and I would hear from them maybe like a month later and ended up booking a paid sponsorship deal with them. It made me so proud to celebrate those small wins, because you're giving yourself evidence and confidence every time that you have a small win like that. What you can do here is keep a journal that has all of the proof of your progress. Write down any little win that you have, whether it's in a journal, put it in a jar, put it in your phone. Just learn to take note of all those small wins. That's going to keep the momentum going, especially when it gets hard. And also understand that every small win leads up to a compound effect. It's going to eventually create this mountain of wins that you'll have no other option to succeed. Next, you're going to enter the reinvention phase. Remember, a real comeback isn't about going back anywhere. It's about creating a new era. It's about going somewhere you've never been before, becoming someone you've never been before. Ask yourself, what is the new version of myself doing on a daily basis? And then do that. Right now, I need to focus on this new path. I'm going to a place that I've never been before. I don't need to hold on to the past and relive the past. I don't need to worry about like, when am I going to get back to that? I just need to embrace the present and just follow it one step at a time, but moving forward, looking forward. So some signs that you're entering your reinvention era are You stop caring about proving people wrong and you only care about proving yourself right. You start to build non-negotiable habits that align with your future self. You are no longer budging and compromising to the point where you're people pleasing. You know your standards, you know what you need to do, and you stick to it. You're also creating more, you're flowing, you're moving forward, you're not overthinking and overanalyzing and being paralyzed by that by not taking any action. Because most people quit in this invisible progress stage because a lot of times we are actually making progress, but because we don't physically see it yet, we think that it's not happening. You won't see it for a really long time until you have a breakthrough moment. For example, you go to the gym for a couple weeks. I've been going to Pilates for months now, almost a year. And for like 6 months, I stopped feeling like I was seeing progress. But I had to remind myself that I must be making progress because I'm showing up every day. And I just know that I am transforming, even if it feels like I'm not at sometimes. There's this rule of 100, doing something consistently for 100 times. Before you decide that it's not working, do something for 100 times. Because most people quit by 10. Set up a no 0 days policy for yourself. Basically, I told myself I'm not gonna skip a day where I don't do something that progresses me towards my goals. This doesn't mean burning ourselves out, but do something towards your goals every single day. When you set up this kind of non-negotiable term for yourself, you are forced to stick it out and stick it through. The last thing I want you to do, the comeback challenge, aka your next move. This video isn't just for inspiration or motivation. This is your call to action for the biggest comeback of your life. So what I want you to do, comment down below what setback you're facing that's gonna lead to your next biggest comeback. Second, write down the 3 things that you will be doing this week that will contribute to your comeback. Lastly, start your progress journal. Keep track of all the little wins. Your setback isn't the end of the story, it is just the beginning. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.